Now, what I'm about to tell you should chill every American right to their core. Right now, inside the Pentagon, unelected bureaucrats are holding secret meetings, plotting to defy their incoming commander-in-chief. The same military brass that botched Afghanistan, that abandoned Americans to die, is now discussing how to override President Trump's orders on border security and mass deportations. But that's not all. The DOJ has just unsealed charges in an Iranian assassination plot against Trump himself. This isn't just insubordination, patriots. This is the deep state showing its hand. And you know what happens when rot sets in? It shows on the surface, just like these Pentagon bureaucrats are showing their true colors. Your body shows signs of aging when its foundation breaks down. And the deep state wants you weak and tired, but here's the truth they don't want you to know. After the age of 20, your collagen production drops 12% every decade. That's why I trust this military-grade collagen formula. Unlike typical supplements, it combines 5 critical types of collagen to keep you strong and fighting ahead. Do your body a favor. Get it today while it's 51% off only at healthwithgary.com. Plus, if you order today, you'll get free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life, a free ebook titled 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free shipping. Once again, it's healthwithgary.com or click the link down below. We thank our sponsors and you for keeping this show going. Okay, this is the big news that is out right now. It is going viral all across the web. You're hearing it here first. Treason. Military brass holding informal discussions on how to override Trump 47's orders. This is happening right now. Gateway Pundit reporting treason. Military brass holding informal discussions. Informal. Does that mean secret? Quiet backroom discussions? Well, that's what's happening, folks. We've got more. Don't go away. Here it is. But remember this. We reported on this just the other day when President Trump broke this. Okay, this is why they're freaking out. And then we're going to get into some of the reaction that we're tracking.
People, and they will get the resignations of every single senior official who touched the Afghanistan calamity to be on my desk at noon on Inauguration Day. You know, you have to fire people. You have to fire people when they do a bad job. We never fire anybody. You got to fire them. Like on The Apprentice, you're fired. You did a lousy job. You did a terrible, terrible disservice to our country. You get fired when that happens. Nobody got fired. Nobody ever gets fired in this administration. It's amazing. All the bad things that have happened, nobody ever gets fired. The problem is when you fire somebody, they always end up writing a book about you, you know? I've had more books written about me. I fire a lot of people when they don't do a good job. I get a book written about me by all these losers that get fired.
Okay, so that message right there has the Pentagon freaking out. How many hands were in that decision to draft those orders that Joe Biden allowed to make us the laughing stock of the world in Afghanistan? Who will ever forget the visuals of those Afghani people running on the tarmac with a U.S. military plane behind them, screaming and celebrating, and then climbing on the jet and falling from the jet, trying to escape? The most embarrassing moment in American history. And that was all on Joe Biden's watch. Donald Trump finally calling for accountability, but the Pentagon is freaking out. It was just leaked to CNN that unelected officials at the Pentagon are already holding secret meetings on what to do if Donald Trump issues orders they don't agree with. Some of those orders include using active military to assign in carrying out mass deportation and firing corrupt actors currently in the U.S. government. Well, guess what? Those are orders. They're not illegal orders. Yes, I'm aware of the different things that soldiers can do if there is an actually illegal order. But if the commander-in-chief orders you to execute an order that is going to remove illegals because they're here illegally, hence the term, then there's nothing illegal about that order. Okay? Why have our politicians allowed these unelected bureaucrats to hold so much power? I hope Trump fires them all. Yes, fire them all. There's going to be a lot of heads rolling in Washington. More on this. We also have Pentagon officials having informal conversation about how the DOD would respond if Trump issues order to deploy active duty troops domestically and fire large swaths of apolitical staffers Officials tell Natasha Bertrand and me. This is from Haley Britsky. At CNN, they're posting this. This is CNN actually reporting this news. Pentagon officials discussing how to respond if Trump issues controversial orders. Pentagon officials are holding informal discussions about how the Department of Defense would respond if Trump issues deploy active duty troops domestically. Trump has suggested he would be open to using active duty forces for domestic law enforcement and mass deportation, and has indicated he wants to stack the federal government with loyalists and clean out corrupt actors in the U.S. national security establishment. Well, that's called draining the swamp, honey. That's called cleaning it out. If you have generals who are not listening to you or disobeying orders, fire them on their ass. Fire them out on their ass. They do not belong in the chain of command. Fire them. Send them to the brig. Whatever you got to do. Court-martial them. Surround yourself with the people who are going to follow orders, who share your vision. And they're terrified of that because they have these deep state entrenched bureaucrats who they've been there forever. Okay? I know firsthand. I have been inside top secret facilities. I have had to call the Central Intelligence Agency to get top secret clearance to enter into facilities so that I could, participate in a Christmas party, at a retirement luncheon, at the National Reconnaissance Office. I know what and how the military industrial complex, the military intelligence apparatus, I know how they revere these people in the White House. In the administrations. Revere is the wrong word. They look down on them because the entrenched deep state bureaucracy is always there. They're always there. They're never let go. But they refer to the people in the White House as the Christmas help. Yeah. It's just seasonal, guys. That's how they feel about them. Well, things are about to change because the Christmas help is going to come in and start firing all the scum. Okay, we've got FBI senior execs left shell-shocked over Trump victory, scrambling to retire. The FBI is freaking out as well. Quote, I have friends still at the Bureau telling me that no less than 50 senior executives are scrambling to retire. That's according to a former whistleblower, George Hill stated. Coming from the post-millennial, FBI senior execs left shell-shocked. Oh, and they should be. They should be. After what the FBI did to our president while he was president after 2016. The illegal wiretapping, listening in, the phony stories, the investigate. Come on, it goes on and on. So now Donald Trump is returning, and he is going to sweep the garbage right out of every single piece of bureaucracy. U.S. Justice Department, we're learning this, has charged multiple individuals allegedly involved in an Iranian plot to assassinate Trump. Is it really Iranian, though? Or is it the CIA?
Iran.
This hour from the Justice Department, again, the FBI has officially filed murder for hire charges against a member of Iran's Revolutionary Guard and at least 2 others in the thwarted Iranian plot to assassinate Donald Trump. NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delanian joins us. Ken, I guess it's hard to imagine them actually arresting this person or persons, but this opens up other possibilities.
Yeah, Andrew, well, they have 2 men in custody who they say were the American operatives hired by this Iranian intelligence operative who is in Iran, they say. But what's interesting about this whole thing is that the reason they know that this plot was targeting Donald Trump is because the Iranian operative actually engaged in voluntary telephone interviews with the FBI from Iran and explained the plot. He was trying to get a reduced sentence for another unnamed defendant who is in prison in the United States. But that is how they know that this was a murder for hire plot directed at Donald Trump. And these people, this group was also targeting a prominent Iranian-American journalist and dissident who's been the subject of previous murder-for-hire plots in New York City. But now these two men are in custody and charged with murder-for-hire and related charges. And as you said, this Iranian operative is in Iran and presumably out of reach of the U.S. justice system. But it's just another striking example of what the U.S. government says are ongoing plots sponsored by the Iranian government to target American officials and former officials in connection with Donald Trump's ordering an operation to kill an Iranian general, Qasem Soleimani, who is the head of the Quds Force, part of the Iranian Revolution.
Okay, so my friends, listen, just keep praying for this man. Keep praying for President Trump. The news is all over this story about this Department of Justice unsealing these criminal charges. I think we've got a little bit more. Let's
President-elect. We have some breaking news this hour. The Justice Department has just unsealed criminal charges in a thwarted Iranian plot to kill President-elect Donald Trump. David Sputton has the latest. David.
Kaylee, we have known there has been a steady threat stream toward the life of President-elect Donald Trump originating in Iran. This is one more example. According to the Justice Department, specifically the Southern District of New York, they're looking for a 51-year-old who they believe resides in Iran. His name is Farhad Shakiri. And according to the Justice Department, he was working with the Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps on a plot to kill then former President Trump, now President-elect Trump, just a few months ago said, quote, it would cost a huge amount of money. That's what he allegedly told the folks back in Iran. Now, separately, he is also accused of employing multiple associates in New York City to surveil and murder an unnamed U.S. citizen that opposed the Iranian regime in New York. Now, Kaylee, this all stems from former President Trump's directive to kill General Qasem Soleimani back in January of 2020. Since then, national security officials have told Fox News the threat stream toward President-elect Trump's life has really increased. This is one more example. So his name is Farhad Shakiri, and he is accused of working with the Iran National Guard Corps to kill President-elect Donald Trump. Kaylee?
David, I want to ask you one question about what you just said there, and that is the killing of Soleimani. We had back on September 27th an indictment against 3 Iranians in the hacking of Trump's campaign. And at the top of that indictment, something stood out to me, and it was the date at which the hacking attempts began to target Trump. At the time, he didn't have a campaign, but to target Trump specifically came at the direction after the killing of Soleimani. We also know a dozen Trump officials were on an Iranian hit list. The death of Soleimani, that foreign policy decision, has caused these outpouring of actions from the Iranians and the subsequent indictments.
Oh, absolutely. And this indictment today from the Justice Department uses Soleimani's name and uses the word vengeance. The fact that Trump ordered the killing of Soleimani, he's been dealing with these threats for years since that. So this is absolutely related to the killing of Soleimani, according to the Justice Department. But
wow. So the threats are ongoing. And now, okay, CNN apparently is covering the Pentagon coup against Donald Trump. CNN's covering this. Listen to this.
Man, the commander.
Is that to you?
Well, I am a little concerned, honestly, if the federal bureaucracy, whether it's in the Pentagon or any other agency, is already having discussions about how to countermand the commander-in-chief. I mean, let's remember how this works. He got elected president. He's the commander-in-chief. He gives the orders. They follow them. And so I don't like the idea, candidly, Wolf, of non-elected government people at any level having meetings with each other about how to thwart the duly elected president of the United States. So I'm really hoping that when Donald Trump names his nominee for the Pentagon, and then they take office and you have your National Security Council in place, that we have a much better working relationship between the White House and the Pentagon than what I'm reading tonight, which is one part of the federal government already having some kinds of meetings about what it would look like to thwart the president. That's not a good way to start.
But let me follow up, Scott. Let me follow up with you, because Trump, as president, will be the commander-in-chief. Yes. But what these Pentagon officials are considering right now and discussing among themselves, what if he gives the Pentagon, the U.S. military, illegal orders to do certain things? What do they do then?
My advice to them would be, instead of talking to each other, talk to the president and talk to his senior staff. Because look what's happened. They're having these meetings. Now it's out in the open.
Wow.
I mean, what is Donald Trump supposed to think now? You've already got the government, the bureaucracy, plotting against you or thinking the worst of you. So to me, the best thing that could happen here is for them to talk to each other, meaning the Pentagon people and the president and his team. That's what really ought to happen. So I hope these secret meetings that now somehow find their way into the press, that really needs to stop. And we need more communication between the incoming government and the people who are already in the building.
Wow. CNN being forced to cover this news. We've got more from here's another piece from CNN.
Is he going to, of course, is how Trump is going to wield U.S. military power here at home? Is he going to make good on his previous pledges to potentially deploy active duty U.S. troops to American cities to engage in domestic law enforcement and to help with his mass deportation plan? That is something that officials here have been discussing in terms of how they would actually respond to that. What would a response look like if the president were to actually order active duty troops to these cities to engage in this kind of domestic law enforcement? And if he did, a former senior military official who served under Trump said that would be very significant. It is not something that the president would be able to necessarily water down to the American people. It would be, quote, a very big deal. And another thing that officials here are gaming out is, of course, what is going to happen if Donald Trump reinstates an executive order known as Schedule F, which would essentially reclassify a large amount of apolitical civilian employees across the federal government, including here at the Pentagon, and allow them to be more easily fireable. That is something that defense officials here are scrambling to address before he enters office, trying to kind of whittle down the list of people who would be at risk of being moved into that category, because of course they're trying to create, as minimal of a disruption as possible to the day-to-day operations here. But clearly they are concerned. They're having these conversations about whether there would be resignations, for example, if an unlawful order were issued. Of course, is how
resignation accepted. Yeah, we want only people who are supporting Trump following orders. Yes, he has the executive authority. If he declares a national emergency, 15 million illegals here because of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? Sounds like a national emergency to me. So, folks, listen. What we're witnessing is not just resistance, it's rebellion. These Pentagon officials, drunk on power and desperate to maintain their grip, are actively conspiring against the will of the people. Meanwhile, 50 FBI senior executives are rushing for the exits, knowing their time is up. The question isn't whether there's a deep state anymore, it's how deep the corruption goes. So here's what I need to know from you, patriots. Should Trump clean house completely on day one, or strategically remove these plotters one by one? Share your strategy in the comments below.